And joining us in studio for more is Eran Globus, policy advisor and former chairperson of the Jerusalem Open House for Pride and Tolerance. Eran, thanks for joining us.
Great being with you.
Well, certainly there is a sort of a fortuitous coming together of events for the LGBTQ community in Israel, because you have both this ruling by the Supreme Court as the High Court of Justice at a time when there is a health minister who anyway strongly backs that policy, Nitzan Horowitz. However, it has to be said, the government of which he is part of has elements of it that not only do not support his ruling, you could even say to some degree are hostile to the LGBTQ community. So the question I have to ask you is, even though it's a legal victory in principle 6 months from now, are you confident that Minister Horowitz is going to be able to execute this policy given the government that he's in?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Well, Minister Horowitz, as you said, has been very unequivocal in his support of this issue. And he's been saying it for many, many years. He's also, we have to say, has been a pusher for the Supreme Court to not wait anymore for the Knesset. We have to remind the viewers that the Supreme Court has said in February 2020 that the surrogacy is unconstitutional, the law as it is, and as you said, should be voided. This is not something new that was decided today. This is the legal opinion of the court since February 2020. They just allowed the government time to implement a view law. And Horowitz said just like last week in a petition for the court, there is no political path forward, plausible path forward to pass that law.
So we have explain that in Parliament, in the Knesset, isn't the majority yet needed to.
Which, as you said, is a result of anti-LGBT elements inside the government. Ram, the United Arab List, and also some of Yamina. Interestingly, Bennett, our prime minister, hasn't yet voiced his opinion on the ruling, although almost everyone else in the political spectrum, for it, against it. So it's interesting to see what he's going to say and how he's going to, But just in terms of Horowitz, I think it's going to be very important that he's in that sort of, position of influence. And he said very unequivocally in the part we just saw, in other things he said today, that he's going to work very hard with, the officials in the ministry to make sure the Ministry of Health is going to, follow the ruling, is going to do as exactly as the Supreme Court has said. And just to make it clear for our audience, Chayut, Chief Justice Chayut, who wrote the opinion today, has made it very easy in terms of just what should be fixed. She said it very, very straight in the ruling. We'll have to see if the ministry does it in the time frame. They have 6 months to do it.
Right. There is another possibility, unfortunately, that I have to raise, which is this government does not even last 6 months. It's replaced again by the Likud, which we have to remember opposed the issue of surrogacy, even though one of its own senior ministers, Amir Ohana, the openly gay justice minister of the Likud, former justice minister of the Likud, is raising children. People, of course, can go abroad. We same-sex couples have gone abroad and carried out surrogacy.
He, of course, was in favor of this.
Right, and he was in favor, but the government. So the question is, even though there's a victory in the Supreme Court, in terms of politics, there's still a ways to go here.
Yeah, I just show you how tight is the balance of power right now in Israeli politics. Just the fact that it's plausible here to say, look, it might not last even 6 months, this government. So I think Horowitz has a very good reason to go forward full steam and just make sure he does it as fast as possible. Just to make this possibility disappear. But I'll say another thing about just the general issue of LGBT equality right now and under this government. 6 out of 8 of the government's parties has made very strong promises and representations to the LGBT community, saying, "Look, we're gonna change things." It's called the change government for a reason, and there's been a constant talk about it. And we're going to have to see, do they follow those promises? And they've all said it's not going to be easy to pass laws, but we can do a lot in our ministries. I think Horowitz is going to face a very clear test in those coming days and weeks and months to see, can he really do it? And can we be sure that a government that is not fully supportive of LGBT rights can still progress our issues and our causes, even though Ram and Bennett might not be in favor of everything. So it's a real test, and I think a lot of Israelis will be looking just to see how things stand, and should they be optimistic about other things, issues of church and state. You know, buses driving on Shabbat,
right.
and you know, tons of major issues that, you know, have been left for the courts to decide so far in the last, let's say, 12 years of the Likud. We'll have to see, does the government take the mantle? And the Supreme Court said also today, we did not want to make this ruling. We wanted the Knesset to fix its errors, maybe, in a way.
Right. Now, just to broaden out a bit, I do want to note that this ruling was also for single fathers.
Yeah.
So it has significance well beyond the gay community. There are many, irregardless of sexuality, this would allow single fathers to use surrogacy. But I want to maybe just briefly, why the surrogacy issue is so key to the LGBTQ community in Israel.
Yeah. I think just, you know, the basic fact that there is a law that says very specifically, you know, heterosexual couples can do it, single women can do it, but just excludes in a very, very clear way, you know, as you said, single parents and LGBT same-sex gay couples. I think for a lot of people there's a sense of you know, being hurt by it. Because the exclusion is so, you know, we are excluded, LGBT people are excluded by many laws, but many times the regulations and the laws are not so clear. And there's also the issue of family, which is so central in Israeli society. So, you know, touching that issue and making same-sex couples basically having to pay the current amounts of 500,000 shekels, even million shekels, to go abroad to the US or other places to do the surrogacy, which they cannot do in Israel. I think, you know, in a way it touches on many other issues, but just the sense of, you know, being that discriminated for.
Right.